All right, we are going to go ahead and get started tonight. Good evening, everybody. I want to thank you all so much for joining us tonight for the final program in our annual Garden Speaker Series. This year's Garden Speaker Series virtual this year. I want to thank you all so much for joining us tonight. I want to give a special thank you to our presenter for tonight's program, Erin Hassan. Where she will present the program titled Everyday Uses for Medicinal Plants and How to Grow Them in just a few short moments. Before we get into tonight's program, did want to go over a few housekeeping items, let you know what's coming up at the Museum of the Grand Prairie, Champaign County Forest Preserve District, and a few other details. So first and foremost, let us know where you're watching from tonight. Already have some folks letting us know in the comment section where they're tuning in from tonight. Always love to see where folks are tuning in from for our virtual programs. Julie tuning in from Heron. Thank you so much. Karen, all the way from Southeast Ohio. Deb right here in Champaign, Illinois. Brittany from Colorado. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Kay, Love tuning in from Muhammad. I think I know who that is. Good to see you. Martha from Decatur. Steve from Central Illinois. Cindy all the way from Minnesota. Donna from New York. Karen from Beeson in Logan County. Thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. And thank you to those of you who've let us know where you're watching from in the comment section here. Also, if you have a question over the course of tonight's program, question or a comment, feel free to drop that in the comment section. We will answer questions at the end of the program. If you have any questions about tonight's program, feel free to put those down in the comment section below. A little bit about us, if this is your first time interacting with the Museum of the Grand Prairie and the Champaign County Forest Preserve District. Museum of the Grand Prairie opened originally in 1968. We're located in Mahomet, Illinois, in East Central Illinois here in Champaign County. And our current mission is to collect, preserve, and interpret the cultural and natural history of Champaign County and East Central Illinois for all generations. We're a part of the Champaign County Forest Preserve District, which is a collection of 7 beautiful forest preserves here in East Central Illinois, here in Champaign County. It also includes 2 educational facilities, including our Museum of the Grand Prairie, as well as the Homer Lake Interpretive Center at Homer Lake Forest Preserve. It also includes Liquid Woods Golf Course, Kickapoo Rail Trail, and so much more. So get outdoors, check out Champaign County Forest Preserve District this spring, or also visit us at the Museum of the Grand Prairie or Homer Lake Interpretive Center and come check us out. Got a lot going on always. Also, we would love to hear from you after tonight's program. I like to put out these program surveys after each program just to see what folks thought about our virtual programs, as well as any recommendations or suggestions you may have for future programs, whether you have an idea or whatever else for future programs. We would love to hear from you. So I'm just dropping this in the comment section right now, but it's a link to a very short survey, again, letting us know what you thought about tonight's program and giving us ideas and suggestions for future programming. A few programs coming up in the near future. This Friday, April 1st, I got a special program taking place at the museum at night, a Boneyard Night at the museum, part of Boneyard Arts Festival, popular arts festival here in Champaign County each and every single year for the last several decades. And we will be showcasing artwork from local artist Shannon Percoco. The program will happen again on Friday, April 1st from 5:30 to 7 o'clock. So this is after hours at the museum. So come and check out the museum at a time when it's not normally open. It's a really cool feeling just to be inside the museum at night. I've done it numerous times, but come and enjoy not only the museum, but great artwork from a local artist, Shannon Percoco, again, as part of Boneyard Arts Festival this Friday, April 1st, if you're local. Other thing coming up on Saturday, May 21st, related a little bit to tonight's program, as well as the entire theme for this year's Garden Speaker Series. We're opening up a new exhibit at the Museum of the Grand Prairie titled A History of Healing. So the exhibit is going to focus on the impact and influence of such diseases as the 1918 flu, smallpox, malaria, tuberculosis, polio, typhoid, cholera, HIV, AIDS, and COVID-19. The exhibit will look at not only the impact and the influence of these diseases throughout Champaign County and East Central Illinois history, but also how the community came together to battle these diseases and overcome them, and some great ways that we had some showing of community here in Champaign County. That exhibit, again, will open on Saturday, May 21st. We're really excited about it. And it relates to our virtual garden speaker series this year, since the theme for this year's series is medicinal plants, how they've been used throughout history, and how to use them in your own household today, and how to grow them today as well, which we'll talk about during tonight's program. For more info about us, the Museum of the Grand Prairie, events we're doing, or anything else you'd like to know about us at the museum or the Champaign County Forest Preserve District, we encourage you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. Also visit us at museumofthegrandprairie.org or ccfpd.org. Also wanted to let you know, if you're local, about an excellent volunteer opportunity in relation to tonight's program. Wanted to put the word out to all of you watching. We'll learn about how medicinal plants and herbs can be used in a variety of ways in our everyday lives. But at the museum, and as part of the Forest Preserve District, we have staff that have begun a project with some volunteers of our own right here in Champaign County, where we're trying to establish a medicinal plant and herb garden just outside of the Museum of the Grand Prairie in our Discovery Garden. So if you're interested in helping us plan, coordinate, plant, and maintain this new medicinal plant and herb garden, as well as this healing garden space at the Museum of the Grand Prairie, feel free to reach out to us. You can reach out to me via email at pkane@ccfpd.org, or my colleague, Katie Snyder. She can be reached at ksnyder, sorry, I'm writing these in the comments here, at ccfpd.org. Reach out to us via email if you're interested in helping us with this project. You'd love to volunteer for it. Looking for volunteers. We have a pretty good group of volunteers established, but we always welcome new volunteers who are interested. So if you'd like to be a part of this project, let us know. Again, let us know where you're watching from tonight if you haven't done so already. I have a lot of other folks tuning in, letting us know where they're tuning in from. Leslie from Sydney, Dawn from Champaign, Katie from Urbana, Susan from Texas, all the way from Texas. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Kim from Normal, Kristen from South Central Pennsylvania, Marcia from Gibson City. So we have quite a bit of folks right here in Central Illinois, as well as throughout the whole country. So that's pretty awesome. That's the beauty of doing these virtual programs. Get to reach far and wide and interact with so many of you out there. So without further ado, you guys probably didn't come here to hear me talk all night. I'm going to go ahead and bring on our presenter for tonight's program, Erin Hassan. Erin, can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes, I sure can.
How's it going? You doing okay?
Yeah, it's going great.
Okay, great. I want to thank Erin so much for doing this presentation for us tonight. Got an excellent presentation coming your way in just a few short moments. So to introduce Erin, Erin Hassan has grown and used herbs for 15 years. For the past 3 years or so, she has intently studied herbalism and the medicinal use of herbs and plants under the schools of herbalism and with individual herbalists. And lastly, Erin has the privilege of being the vice president of the Champaign-Urbana Herb Society. And Erin will present our program tonight. So without further ado, let's give a warm virtual welcome to Erin Hassan. Thank you so much, Erin.
Thank you.
I'm going to pull up this slideshow presentation here, and should be good to go, Erin.
Okay.
Are you seeing that on your end?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yep. Okay. I do just want to start by thanking Pat and the museum for allowing me to share with you this presentation tonight. And it's always great when we can talk about medicinal uses of plants. And I also want to start by saying, for any specific information that I might give about a plant, it's coming from my work in herbalism and my my experience with the plants. I'm not a doctor. Nothing should be considered treatment or diagnosis of anything. Um, so I just wanted to briefly start by giving you all, as Pat mentioned, I have the privilege of being the vice president of our local Champaign-Urbana Herb Society, and I just wanted to give a couple slides of introduction about the Herb Society. We were founded in 1975 by some local women who wanted to study the history, cultivation, lore, and use of herbs, and to encourage interest in your herbs and develop and maintain herb gardens that are open to the public. And that slide, the photo on your left there is maybe on your right, is a picture of the herb garden that we actually maintain. So we maintain the Meadowbrook Garden, the herb garden out at Meadowbrook Park in Urbana. So if you've never been out there and you're local, I encourage you to go out there. Meadowbrook Park is a great park. Lots of native plants that you can see there, but also the Herb Society's garden is out there. We hold meetings the first Wednesday of every month. So next week is our April meeting. If you can make it, you are invited. No one, you don't have to be a member to come to our meetings. That meeting will be at 7 p.m. at the Urbana Free Public Library, the conference room downstairs. Um, and so we meet the first Wednesday of each month, and then we hold garden tours and trips during the summer. And we also, coming up is our annual plant sale over Mother's Day weekend on May 7th at the Lincoln Square Mall in Urbana. Um, Before you go out and buy herbs at a big box store, please consider coming out to support the Herb Society at our herb sale. And also, one of the great things about buying plants from the Herb Society sale is that, if you have questions about how to use an herb, or how to grow an herb, the Herb Society members that are there can help you with those questions. So it's a huge benefit when you buy from the Herb Society. And we also hold workshops through the year. I've included our website and an email address. If you have questions about the Herb Society, please feel free to email, and you can always check out our website as well. Um, so I just wanted to talk briefly about some common kitchen herbs, and I've tried to keep I've tried to keep some of the discussion particularly around native plants, but there are a lot of great herbs and medicinal plants that are not native to our area, or not native to North America, but that are particularly great medicinal plants. The first a couple slides are great herbs for the kitchen. The herbs on this slide are ones that that everyone knows probably. We use all the time in our kitchens. They're very common for people who don't really garden, even mostly know the names of a lot of these herbs. But it's easy to forget that these herbs, because we tend to relegate them to the kitchen, that they have profoundly medicinal uses as well. And one of my favorite things to share is about thyme. I Probably my favorite herb and medicinal plant is thyme, and I've spent a lot of time just in the past year just focusing a lot of study time on thyme and its medicinal uses. But it has many uses. It works deep in the body. But one way uh, that it's commonly known to work is with sinuses and in acute situations. And I love to give this example. My son was quite ill with a cold, and he couldn't really handle over the counter medicine. He would just throw it up. when he was younger. So he doesn't get sick very often. So when he did get this really severe acute cold and he couldn't keep any sort of over the counter medicine down, I made him for 2 days, I made him a cup of thyme tea 3 times a day, and by the end of that 2nd day, he was cleared, his sinuses were cleared, and he was feeling a lot better, so I just love, thyme for that. Rosemary is a, profoundly, medicinal plant as well. It's used in many, many areas. Um, a lot of people associate it with memory, and it helps with in the circulatory region, so particularly in the brain. And so a lot of people use rosemary for memory. Sage is great um, for respiratory type things as well. One of my favorite ways to use sage is really simple, because not everyone loves the taste of sage, but sage is great to if you have some sinus congestion, or if you boil water and put it in a bowl of water and throw in, or put it in a bowl once it's boiled, and just throw in a quarter cup of sage leaves and let that steep for a minute, and then put your head over that. Sage really helps to work through and clear that out. Oregano also has been known throughout history to be profoundly medicinal. It was used as a preservative for a long time as well, because of its antiseptic and antibacterial and antimicrobial properties. So these all, we tend to think of them as kitchen herbs, but they're highly medicinal as well. And I just kind of noted a difference between the two. If you're new to gardening, dill and parsley and basil are super easy to grow from seed. Dill is it is surprising how fast those seeds pop up, how fast the plants germinate and pop up. Parsley and basil take a little bit more time, but they are fantastic, easily to grow from seed if you are new to gardening. Um, then some other herbs for that are root or rhizome growth are garlic, ginger, and turmeric. And it's become more and more mainstream to hear about medicinal properties of these three amazing roots and rhizome. And so, they're pretty easy to grow. You can throw a ginger or a turmeric root in a pot and it'll grow. Of course, in Illinois, you'll have to bring it inside in the winter, um, but they're great to grow. And garlic is super easy to grow if you just break up a clove and put the cloves in the ground. It's easy to grow, and they each, we could spend the whole evening talking about any one of these herbs and its medicinal properties and how wonderful they are. And garlic and ginger and turmeric, uh, people use them sometimes. They're not interchangeable. They have some of properties that are similar, but they also are all each very different and very great. Um, and then I thought I'd um, bring talk about some additional herbs that are really great in the kitchen. Um, so, the, um, lemon balm is a fantastic herb for the kitchen, and it has a very pleasant taste. It's cooling, so in the summertime, if you're really hot, you can just infuse some lemon balm leaves into water and drink that. It's very cooling and relaxing. But lemon balm has a wonderful ability. As it relaxes you, it actually helps you focus on things. So it's really interesting how lemon balm does that. But it's very pleasant. It's got a great lemon taste. So you could put it in a lot of dishes where you want lemon. Of course, we all know the mints. Mint is a pretty common. Um, taste that a lot of people know, spearmint, peppermint, chocolate mint, candy mint. There are plenty of others, and they each have their own way. And you can just use a lot of, you can use them in a lot of different things, whether it's cooking or, making syrups to add to water, just to give a little bit of a different taste to something, or things like that. Sweet marjoram is also great in the kitchen if you've never grown it. It's not an annual. I'm sorry. It's bleh. It is not. It won't. It's not a perennial for us here. So the ones I marked with asterisks are the ones that you couldn't really just leave in the ground, or if you leave them, just know that they will die. But sweet marjoram is a terrific herb. It has a great taste, and its own wonderful scent. A lot of people associate it with basil and oregano. I find it just to have its own particular taste. That's really great. It works great with beef dishes and things like that. Winter savory is another great herb. Summer savory and winter savory are both kind of related. Summer savory, when it was introduced, winter savory kind of became less popular to use, but I actually prefer the taste of winter savory in my kitchen more than summer savory. It's got a great it's just got a great strong taste, and it actually shares the a lot of the same medicinal properties as thyme, and so and those tastes actually balance each other out very well if you use, like, I make a vinegar with winter savory. I also make one that's winter savory and thyme, and and those are really balancing for flavor, and really great to use in anything where you want to add like an herbal taste to a savory taste to a dish. um, and then um, any herbalist will loves to talk about stinging nettle, and I am no different. Stinging nettle is a terrific herb. It's really nutritious. It's full of vitamins and minerals and iron. But you do have to realize if you grow it that it is called stinging nettle for a reason. And so you don't ever want to reach down and grab it without gloves on. And if you have small children, you do not want them to go grab stinging nettle. Um, and some people it will give them a rash that you can actually treat with an infusion of tea made from stinging nettle. But where it doesn't give a rash, it burns. So you want to be careful about that. But nettle can be used in any dish that you would use spinach. So you know, in pastos and soups and lasagnas and all kinds of things where you would use spinach. You just have to blanch it first in boiling water so that those follicles that make it stinging nettle will not cause reactions. You can also dry the leaves to make an infusion and or tea, basically, and it's a really great herb. Lavender, of course, everyone, I think, whether they know any, whether they use herbs or whether they garden or not, most people know lavender. Lavender is just as good in the kitchen as it is in beauty, uh, in beauty products. So there are tons of ways to use lavender in the kitchen. And borage is another plant that's great in the kitchen. It's one of those ones that I like to use in salads, and you just use the flowers. They have a light cucumber taste. Um, they're a pretty uh, purple or light blue flower, depending on the borage. But it is it's a nice addition to a salad. Um, and then I have bee balm here, or Monarda, which of course is one of our native plants to this area and to the prairie lands in general. But bee balm is known for its flavoring in teas. You can drink it as a tea by itself, or you can add it in to flavor other teas. Um, it's great for that. Horehound is a we've all heard of probably we've all heard of horehound candy. That that old time candy, and horehound of course is great for a lot of people use it for respiratory issues, and so you can make a syrup out of it, and for respiratory issues, but also you can just use that flavoring for a lot of different things. um, and I might skip a couple, but chamomile, we all know chamomile. Chamomile is great in teas, and but you can also use it in other areas if you wanted to experiment with that. Just know, an experiment to do with chamomile is take 2 8-ounce cups and put a teaspoon of I'm sorry, a tablespoon of chamomile in each, and pour boiling water over each and cover each, but leave one for no longer than 5 or 10 minutes, where let the other one just stay for an hour, and then taste the difference. We often think of chamomile as this very relaxing, gentle flavor that a lot of people really like, but it does have bitter qualities to it. So the longer you leave that, its bitter qualities come out. And then lemon verbena and lemongrass are two that are other lemon flavors that are just great to use in cooking or in the garden, or in teas. I'm sorry. They are great in the garden too. Um, but if you use the two of them together, really balance each other out in teas, I find. But they both just make a very relaxing tea if you drink them by themselves. And of course, lemongrass is really popular in Thai and other Asian cuisine. So there are lots of possibilities with those lemon flavored herbs. And then I'm just gonna skip a couple. I just wanna mention rose. So we often only think about rose in the realm of beauty, and creams and different and bath and different things like that, but roses are actually great in the kitchen as well, and they bring terrific flavor to things. So it is worth, thinking about as well. Um, and then some more herbs that I just wanted to cover in a little bit of specific, um, are, I've got a list of herbs here. I'm just going to pick and choose a few. I Tulsi or holy basil is a terrific herb if you're new to gardening. It's easy to grow. It's um, in the same family as the basil that we think of for kitchen, for that we use in the kitchen. Though Tulsi is usually not a kitchen herb, it is more of a medicinal herb, and but it is super easy to grow if you'd like to start that from seed. You can also buy plants of it, but it's nice and easy to grow. And a lot of people, so um, you know, certain herbs have become more popular, that are called adaptogens, and a lot of people think of ashwagandha and other things. Um, and I really just only put in Tulsi or holy basil on this list that falls into that category. Um, but Tulsi is just great to use in teas or tinctures, as a medicinal plant. It's relaxing and balancing. Um, it's a very nice herb. Yarrow, Achillea mellifolium. Um, Yarrow is a terrific herb. It was known. It's profoundly it just has a lot of great medicinal properties, both internally and externally. And yarrow it was used clear up through the Civil War for surgeons would use it for staunching blood. Um, and it's still known, a lot of folks use that today. If you're, if you're out backpacking somewhere and you have a cut, but you don't have anything else and it's bleeding, but there's some wild yarrow there because it is native to North America. Yarrow will staunch that bleeding well. Um, and it's also has a lot of great internal properties as well, for use internally. Uh, St. John's wort, I have that on the list, of some herbs, great herbs to think about. It's worth noting, always worth calling out that, if you are on taking any kind of medication, of pharmaceutical medication, uh, don't take St. John's wort internally without talking to your doctor. St. John's wort does interact with some medicines in a way that your doctor would not want it to interact with. So always good to talk to your doctor. But St. John's wort is very good for a lot of things. It works deep in the liver. It's great for the nerves in the digestive and gut area. And St. John's wort also is extremely relaxing. If you have melancholy, St. John's wort is good for that. It's also it can be used externally, if you for nerve problems, and an infusion of St. John's wort into a carrier oil like olive oil is great for relieving nerve pain. And it's also historically, it was used for many by many herbalists and native um, healers for burns. So it's one of those great ones that you can use internally and externally as well. Let's see, and then I would also I'm going to skip a few herbs here. Um, Hops is a terrific herb in the garden. It is also great to use. Most people think of hops as the ingredient in beer, and but hops is a really beautiful plant to grow. It's visibly just really pretty when those vines come out, and it does have a bitter taste, but it helps with it's a nervine sedative, so it helps with sleep. And but if you're going to drink a tea out of hops, you would want to mix it with some other things because it is it's bitter. But it's just a really great herb in the garden as well. um, let's see. um, Self heal is another plant that is worth mentioning. I mean, they're all worth mentioning, but self heal is another native, uh, at least to the northern hemisphere. There's some debate about where it's native to, but self heal is one of those plants that is it can be used externally. It's great for the skin. It's also been used uh, to draw out splinters and things like that. So it's really great for that. And vervain, the lower photo with the purple flowers is Verbena hastata, which is our native North American blue vervain plant. There is also the excuse me, the Verbena officinalis, which is the European vervain. They look different. If you see them growing, you would know that which one you're looking at. But um, the reason that I put both of their Latin names in here is because the verbena family is really a large family that has medicinal plants, but it also has a lot of not medicinal plants. And so I wanted to call out these two specific medicinals, Verbena hastata and Verbena officinalis. They are they're used interchangeably from a biochemical perspective. They are both they are it's a nervine plant, and it's really great for if you have a busy mind that constantly runs. um, Vervain is a really great plant. um, I did just want to mention, when we consider hybrids, there are some really great and beautiful hybrids. When we think about echinacea, or coneflower, there are all kinds of hybrids that have been developed, and they're really pretty and they're eye-catching. But you really want to get the echinacea angustifolia or purpurea for medicinal uses. Angustifolia is the North American native, which we all love so much in the prairie. And it is just it's synonymous with the prairie scape, and it's a wonderful plant, and it is also powerfully medicinal. A lot of the studies, from a medicine perspective, were actually done on Echinacea purpurea, which is the European native. But the Angustifolia it has found to be, um, you know, have the same medicinal properties. And also, if you want to add yarrow to your garden, um, you want to buy Achillea mellifolium and not a hybrid of it. So I always suggest to look at, to really consider where you're buying things from, to make sure that you're buying quality herbs that are the true medicinal plant. So, if you come to local herb sales, like the CU Herb Society, or if you're looking at other companies online, Richter's out of Canada is a great resource for herb seeds and plants. The Growers Exchange is another strictly medicinal seed company, is probably my favorite. And there are a variety of others, but you want to look for those companies that are really careful about the plants that they offer. Um, this side. And then I also, you know, when we talk, um, when we talk about medicinal plants, a lot of times we skip over things that we think of as weeds. And so I just want to encourage you to let your weeds actually grow. Um, especially if you're new to gardening, it's become a more common modern thing that we all want our grass to look really nice, and our lawns to look like golf courses. But that really isn't remotely natural. And you'll find that if you stop spraying and treating your lawn, you can actually make room for more pollinators to come to your plants, because a lot of these herb plants, um, and medicinal plants um, are plants that pollinators love. But when we have sprayed our yards and stuff like that, a lot of times the companies will spray insecticides. It deters, or kills pollinators. And so I just can't encourage enough to let your weeds grow. I have places in my herb gardens where I just let dandelion grow there, so that right now I could go out, and when I'm making a salad, I'll go out and cut, some young dandelion leaves, and they're a great addition to a salad. They have a bitter taste, and the older the plant gets, in the summertime, they are much more bitter later. They're best when they're young like that, but they are a great addition to a salad to get your body ready for, changing the types of foods that you're eating when the weather is warm. But all parts of a dandelion are edible and usable. I actually, if you can use roasted dandelion root in teas. I also, roasted dandelion root as a base for an herbal coffee, instead of drinking caffeinated coffee all the time and forcing your body, to need that stimulation. If you can get a great tasting herbal tea that is a blend of different things like dandelion and chicory, and you can just put in there what other kind of flavors that you really like, and make a great herbal coffee. You can also dandelion flowers are edible. They're really great, for you can use them in a lot of things. Plantain is also one of those weeds that we tend to overlook. Plantain is in the springtime. It's one of those great edible leaves. It's a good pot herb, and um, very edible and very nutritious, full of minerals and vitamins that your body needs. And also, plantain is great for, um, like in the summertime, bugs and bug bites and rashes and skin things like that with plantain. It is also perfect for drawing out splinters. Um, I always keep plantain balm in my pantry, and I have in the last, I don't know, 6 months or so, my husband and I both had to use that balm because we had a splinter that we just couldn't get out. We couldn't get to it, and you put that on, and within no time the plantain draws the splinter out. So it's really great for that. Violets. You've probably seen a lot of people talk about making violet vinegar and things like that. You can use the leaf and the flower are edible. The leaf can sometimes have a soapy taste to it because of the saponins in it. It's the leaf is good for skin issues. And goldenrod is another one of our native plants that we tend to think of as a weed. It's great for actually for using with allergies. And then burdock root is just an all around nutritious, highly nutritious root that, if you go back just a couple of just a couple of generations ago, it was common, for people in the springtime to go pick fresh dandelion root, and then in come late fall, early winter, they would go out and dig out burdock root and use it in as a food, because it's so healthy. Um, Cleavers and chickweed are great spring herbs too that a lot of people think of as weeds. So I just wanted to draw your attention to those plants as well. Um, and when we talk about medicinal plants and using medicinal plants, it's important to realize that medicinal plants, it's not like a pharmaceutical medicine. It's not a take thyme for this, take echinacea for this. y- Medicinal plants have hundreds of biochemical constituents that work across a variety of areas in the body, and so it's not at all like pharmaceutical medicine. So that's why we always say, start using herbs in the kitchen as much as you can, so that you get those in your body, and then start using them other ways, in medicine and things like that. um, and then, another important thing to consider, when you look at plants and people, we sometimes consider ourselves, we forget that we are part of nature, that we are a small microcosm in the bigger macrocosm, and that you'll find that the plants that are native plants that grow in those regions, in wherever they grow, um, you always find that the other organisms that live in those areas need the medicine out of those plants for specific reasons. So, some bioregions don't need certain plants where they need other plants, and that's what grows there. So, um, it's really important to consider as well. And people are different, and so plants aren't the same. They have different actions that they do. They have different energetics that they do, and at the same time as plants being different, people are different. And so, you have the concepts of the doshas of Ayurveda, the tissue states in Western herbalism, and the elements of Chinese medicine to show, for the idea that the body, that people are all have different are different. And so, um, as an example, like a kapha person, um, they tend to be bigger boned and broader bodied, and they are very they're very careful about things, and they do a very thorough job when they do it. And but on the flip side, and the negative, they can tend to be lethargic, or from a health perspective, they can tend to hold water. And so if you just, like in a landscape, it, if you have an area where a lot of water is held, there are going to be certain plants that never grow there. And so certain plants would not be useful for that person to help with that imbalance. So that's some ways just to consider as you think about using medicinal plants. And it's really just a very brief introduction of one slide. So please remember that. And I also just wanted to just share some general ways of how we can use food as medicine besides cooking with them, using them in salads. There's also culinary vinegars and oils that you can make. I mentioned winter savory and thyme. A lot of people make a tarragon vinegar, or rosemary and garlic vinegar is popular. You can do the same thing with oils. You can infuse, olive oil with a different variety of herbs to use on things. And of course, you can make your own spice and herb blends, which is just a fantastic way to use more herbs in the kitchen. Is to make blends yourself, and at the same way that you would blend for spicing for cooking, you can also make your own tea blends, which are a lot of fun to come up with and work on. Herbal salts. Obviously, if you're staying away from salts for medical reasons, herbal salts are not that great. But if you don't have that problem, herbal salts are another great way to get, instead of just using salt, getting some great herb flavors, like an oregano and garlic salt or something like that. Herbal sugars, although not all that healthy, it is a different it's a different way of using some herbal sugars. If you, for instance, have if you make brownies, you could sprinkle it lightly with a mint sugar, and get some great flavor that way. Shrubs are used in the kitchen. So some people, shrubs, first of all, are a mixture of and um, fruit and herbs that are steeped in vinegar, and then you divide, after so long, however many weeks that you want to leave it in, then you take that plant material out. And shrubs can be used as a mocktail or a cocktail sometimes, or you can also just use it as an electrolyte. Take a couple tablespoons, put it in a glass of water. In the summertime, it serves as a great way to refresh your body. Syrups are a great way to use an herb, to get an herb in. I always have hawthorn syrup made at home and give that. I take that every day because hawthorn is very good for the heart and the circulatory system, and it's just good for you overall. But you can do that with all kinds of herbs to make different syrups. And it's a good way with kids if to get the benefits of the herb, because it has a little bit of a sweeter taste. And you can also make cordials and wines in the kitchens if you are, if you use alcohol. um, so here's just a couple photos of some things. I make different things and just keep them around the house, or give them like the cordial there. I give it as a gift when I need one. I always have those around to give as gifts. But those are easy ways to use plants and to get them in your everyday use. Um, but then there are other ways, of course, from a strictly medicinal perspective. um, Teas and tinctures are very common ways to use herbs, and with an herbal tea for more of a medicinal purpose and less of a I want to drink this for the taste uh, idea. For that kind of tea, you want to infuse it for a very long time. You can fuse it 4 to 8 hours. Um, or if you're making like a big a lot of it, or if you're making a cup of tea, instead of using a tea bag or a teaspoon of herb, use a tablespoon and let it sit and steep for 30 minutes to an hour, so you get that stronger um, treatment with the herb. And sometimes there are herbs that I just prefer with tea, and then there are some that I only ever use with tincture. You just have to realize that with the menstruums that you're using, whether it's water, alcohol, or vinegar, that each of those three things draw out different constituents from those plants. So that's why, if you try something and you're like, well, that didn't really help me as much as I thought it would, but you drink it with as a tea or something, or vice versa. That's because of the constituent difference that those things are pulling out. So some herbs are just better as tincture, and some are going to be better as tea. Capsules are also very common, but the only trouble that I have with capsules is, if you have chronic conditions that are often going to require a lot more of those herbs, and so you'd be taking a lot of capsules at a time. But if you don't have any chronic conditions to worry about where you would need a lot of an herb potentially, capsules are perfectly fine. As I mentioned, for kids, syrups, glycerites, and oxymels are great because they all have a sweetness to them. Glycerites are sweet. Oxymels have honey and vinegar and herb, so they have that sweetness. Herbal honeys, just infusing an herb into honey, um, to get the benefits of, both the raw honey, you get the benefits of that, but then you also get the benefits of that herb. That's great for kids. It's a lot different eating a clove of garlic versus, taking a spoon of a honey that has garlic and thyme in it, right? It's going to be easier to handle for some. Also, flower essences are great, more for treating, for helping with emotional and psychological um, aspects. Flower essences, I find to be really great and helpful. And of course, most people have heard of Dr. Bach and the flower essences. And he had a medical practice, that uh, you know, he started using the flower essences to treat his patients with, and it really helped. And of course, herbalists have been talking for many, many, many years about the need to balance the health of the whole person. And that's getting to be part of mainstream medicine now, but herbalists and natural medicine folks have always said that. And so flower essences is one of those great pieces of that. Another a great way to use herbs externally are oils, and you can use a variety of different oils for many different things. I mentioned using St. John's wort oil for nerve things. I also make for inflamed joints. I use a Douglas fir and cinnamon oil, and just put that right on that joint. And so there's a variety of ways to use herbal oils. And then sometimes you can start with an herbal oil and make it into a balm or salve, which is just adding beeswax to it, basically. And you can. The easy thing about that is you can carry a salve with you. Different places, or sometimes it's just easier to put a salve on something than than to put an oil on it. um, and then soaks and salts are also great ways to use herbs for your skin, for your mind. Soaking in a bathtub with either using an herbal oil in the bathtub, or using a soak of different salts and herbs together. It's a great way to get to use some herbs and to benefit from all of the variety of things from those herbs. Lavender and chamomile are great for those things, and you know just a variety. Rose can be used to just so many things. Salts, just all kinds of salts that you can make, mixing different herbs with salts, and you know I think there's plenty of evidence on the benefits of those, of soaking your feet at night, or soaking in a bathtub, or whatever you need to help you. It helps calm down, but it also helps um, just so many things. And then also, medicinal plants are used in beauty items. So, you know, I um, I personally make all of my own, any of my own uh, cosmetics or creams or lotions, and things like that. Um, because you know think about it, your skin is your largest organ. So if you wouldn't swallow something, do you really want to put it on your skin? So if you have a ton of our chemicals are really not regulated, our not our chemicals, but our the chemicals that can be used in all of the deodorants and shampoos and all the creams and all of those things. Those aren't typically very regulated here in the U.S. And there are a lot of harsh chemicals in those, and a lot of things that just aren't good for your skin. So using medicinal plants is a great way. Making your own face washes. Calendula is great for the skin. Um, a great something that's used as I list it under a toner, but it's also used under a variety of things, is Queen of Hungary water. It's a mixture of different herbs, it's just great. It's steeped in vinegar, but it is just great for your skin all around. It's got um, comfrey leaf and rose and chamomile and lavender and other things in it that are just super great for your skin. And as a toner, it helps clean and astringe your skin, but it doesn't hurt your skin. Same thing with creams and lotions. There are tons of creams and lotions that you can make uh, with. starting with like an infused oil from a medicinal plant and then making a cream or lotion from there. You can do the same thing with shaving creams. Um, and aftershaves. You can make your own soaks and salts as well. And of course, for the hair is no different. You can use you can use oils. There are different hair oils that people use. There are different rinses that you can make. Apple cider vinegar is a very popular base for a hair rinse because of all the benefits of apple cider vinegar. And then, you add the herbs like a rosemary or nettle or just all kinds of good herbs in there that you need, and you can make some great hair rinses, or you can also make it more like an infusion where you don't use vinegar, you make a tea and use it in your hair. um, but those are all ways to use medicinal plants. And lastly, you can some great plants to use for cleaners around the house. Citrus peel and vinegar is a super easy uh, way to have your own cleaner. So if you're wanting to get away from chemical cleaners, and you have oranges or lemons that you're using in your kitchen, don't throw the peels away. Throw them in a jar and then steep them in vinegar, and white vinegar, and you've got a great cleaner. Lavender and rosemary are very refreshing, and you can use, a house freshener is um, a great freshener to use: baking soda, lavender, and rosemary, for your carpets. So, they're uh, those two herbs together just are a great combination. But you can also just use lavender if or rosemary if you want those. So with that, those are some of the herbs that I wanted to talk about, and some specific things about those herbs, and then how to use herbs on a daily basis, and how to get them more into your life, um, in all areas. So with that, I am done with my presentation.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Erin. Really appreciate all of your knowledge. It's obvious you have tons of knowledge and a great passion for herbalism, and sharing it with others, and doing quite a bit of it yourself. It's props to you for doing all of that, and using it in your everyday life as well. And I learned so much in the last hour. I probably learned more in the last hour than I have in uh, in quite a long time. And now I'm anxious to try and do some things as well. So really appreciate that, Erin. And if you have any questions out there, feel free. Have some questions already coming in. Feel free to drop those in the comment section down below, and see if we can address some of these questions here at the end. I had a question, Erin, just to start. I'm just curious, just about the individual, and how you got started with all of this. Is this something that is this something that was instilled in you from your family growing up? Is this something you discovered later in life? And why do you consider herbalism, and these medicinal uses of plants and herbs to be such an important thing that folks should do in their lives?
Um, well, I so two things. First, in my uh, I didn't realize until my late 20s that I enjoy gardening. And when I started actually using, I loved to cook, so I started gardening with herbs before I really gardened with vegetables. And I loved trying out different things in the kitchen. But then I have chronic health problems that, unfortunately, I could just never. I really, had several doctors try to help me and everything, but um, as it goes with many folks with chronic conditions, I just couldn't get any help. Where when I started working with medicinal herbs and studying and learning about them, I made a s- things specific to my needs, and found that it helped me and has and continues to help me much better than I could ever get using medicines.
That's great. That's really great to hear that
Yeah.
that's worked for you. We do have some other questions coming in. It looks like we have some other folks, some fellow members of the CU Herb Society tuning in. We have the Champaign-Urbana Herb Society. They also listed the link here to a PDF that lists all of the plants for your upcoming herb sale coming up. So that's really great. So thanks for sharing that. If you're local out there, check out this link where you can see all the plants and herbs that will be available for sale at the upcoming plant sale with the CU Herb Society. And Erin, could you remind us of the date and time and location for that for those local folks who may be interested?
Yes, that is Saturday, May 7th, from 8 to 1 or until we sell out, at the Lincoln Square Mall in Urbana. We'll be in the mall.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so check
Yeah.
that out. Coming up in May. May will be here before we know it. April is already right around the corner. We're at the end of March already too. So, um, Brittany had a question. Will the PowerPoint slides potentially be available to us after the session or after the video? And I was wondering if folks are interested, they could either email me or if you're comfortable, Erin. I know you provided the CU Herb Society Gmail account earlier. Maybe they could reach out that way, and then we could provide those slides for anybody who may be interested. Is that something that would be okay? Or
Yeah, absolutely. Instead of if they're looking for the slides, they could just send it to if they were sending it to you, they could also send it to my personal email address.
okay,
And that's ehassan34@gmail.com.
okay, awesome. Thank you for that, Erin.
Hmm. Sure.
Katie has a question. My colleague Katie. Good to see you, Katie. She has a question. Do you have recipes to share? Maybe a recommendation of a book or a website that will help a person new to using herbs for medicinal purposes. Any recommendations you got, Erin?
Yes, absolutely. The first book that comes to my mind every single time is Rosemary Gladstar's books. And um, she has several, and I cannot remember the exact title of her book. Let me see. Um, I'm sorry. Just give me 1 second.
No worries. Yeah, I'm interested too because there might be some other resources to check out. After the presentation tonight too. And then another good thing is we could always go back and watch parts of the presentation as well that Erin provided after the live stream is over. You can watch the recording. For those of you who are tuning in live, you can always tune in after the fact to catch up on some points or rehear some points that Erin's presented tonight as well.
Yeah, and if you're new to it, I would suggest getting Rosemary Gladstar's Herbal Recipes for Vibrant Health. She has written several books, but that is by far it is a great book to start with. And I've just read it cover to cover. It's a phenomenal book.
Great.
There are there are schools that you can learn herbalism with. The Herbal Academy of New England is a great way if you're interested in really studying more. That's a great way. But there are some Rosemary Gladstar's books are a great place to start if you just want to learn some new things. She's got recipes throughout the book too, um, as well.
Okay. Awesome. I have to check out Rosemary Gladstar coming up. Um, Donna had a question, personal question for Erin. Any particular plant or herb that is your favorite source, or I guess to add to Donna's question, any particular favorite use that you have of a plant that is your go-to or something that you really enjoy?
So I, uh, so I, there are so many that I think of, but I think the biggest, if I had to say favorites, I'd have to narrow it down to 2 probably. My first one, as I mentioned in my presentation, is thyme. I love using thyme medicinally. It's and I throw it in all kinds of things in cooking, and also all kinds of teas. If I'm drinking herbal tea, I throw thyme in there too, or you can use lemon thyme if you don't like the taste. But thyme is great, and also my other go-to favorite herb is skullcap for a number of medicinal things.
Like picking a favorite child, maybe
Yes.
maybe not possible,
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
hard.
yeah. Patricia says, thanks and congratulations, Erin. Excellent presentation. It looks like it's from Patty and your fellow Herb Society members tuning in tonight. So sending in some praise and thanks as well.
Oh, thank you all. The Herb Society is wonderful.
Yeah,
Um,
it's great local organization. If you're local, they also posted from the CU Herb Society page, as Erin mentioned earlier, but in this comment too. Are you interested in learning more about herbs? As Erin mentioned, join them at their next meeting, which is next week, April 6th at 7 o'clock at the Urbana Free Library. So if you want to continue to learn more, check out the next meeting for the Herb Society here in CU. Um, let's see. Nancy, maybe this will be our last question here. Which hazel is a great skin toner? Erin, do you happen to know if it grows as a perennial in the area by chance?
so witch hazel is actually from a tree, and I think it grows in all throughout uh, the eastern side of North America. I could be wrong about that, but I believe that it is that it grows in the area.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. Huge thank you to Erin for such a great presentation. Again, you've got so much knowledge and so much passion that I'm motivated to learn more as well to start growing some of these things. And there's even some things that may already be growing out in the backyard that I just didn't quite know that you could use these in a variety of different ways in the home. So I really really appreciate that. Yeah, I'm itching to learn a little bit more, and of course itching for the weather to get a little bit warmer around here, which would be nice, but we'll get there eventually. Some final words here from those watching. Deb says, great job, Erin, valuable information. Thank you. Also from Kathy, thanks for all of your information. And I echo that. So thank you very much, Erin. Thanks everybody again for tuning in tonight. Thanks everybody for tuning into all the programs in our Garden of Speaker series this year. Wishing you all the best of luck in the upcoming growing season, just around the corner here. And if you're local, come and check us out at Museum of the Grand Prairie, Champaign County Forest Preserve. Check out the CU Herb Society, their next meeting next week, April 6th, or their upcoming plant sale as well. So with that, I am going to end the live broadcast, and thanks everybody so much for tuning in tonight.